Here, how about we do this? This is probably the easiest way to get Mike. How's it now? Okay, I'm good. Alright, we just had a little bit of a different setup from last time, so I just had to run the mic differently. Alright, welcome back. My name's Jammitch. You just saw me doing Pac-Man Championship Edition DX, and now we're going to do something completely different. This is Tetrisphere. This is a N64 puzzle game. I think it's a very underrated one. Despite the name, it has very little to do with Tetris. They just licensed the name to sell more copies. It's going to go really fast at first. I don't want to hang around too long and explain it, so let's get started in 3, 2, 1, go. And I'll explain it as we go. So at its heart, this is a match 3 game. So what we're going to do is we're going to find or make a set of 2 blocks on the screen and drop the block. And drop a third block. That'll make a combo. We can move pieces around by using the B button, and we do the drops by using the A button. And most of what we're going to be doing is trying to dig down to the bottom. And there's various mini games in this mode, which is called hide and seek. And our goal is to complete the various mini games. This first one's called multi. We just need to uncover one of those pictures, and we can move on. Second stage type we're going to see is called drill. We have these little pink things on the ball. These are called drills. There's 5 of them. Underneath one of them there is a picture, and we're hunting for the right one so that we can actually find the picture, uncover the picture, and start working on it. So by process of elimination, it sure had better be this one. It is. It's always the last place you look, right? But now it's kind of the same as what we just did. We're just going to be moving around and dropping blocks and trying to get to the bottom here and get this picture dug out. And because it took us so long to find the drill, the clock is just a little bit angy, but it's not going to be a big problem. Nope. Still got one corner holding us in down here, and we should be out. Alright, next stage type is going to be brick. I think this is my most interesting. I think this is the most interesting of the mini games because it's not just about digging down for digging's sake. We have to actually dig around this brick, and we cannot directly interact with this brick. We have to actually get clever and move underneath it. Once it hits the bottom, we're done. The exact opposite of Katamari Damacy. One Japanese player, when I did a marathon, called it an apple peeling game, and I have not stopped calling it that ever since. Alright, fourth stage type we're going to see here is called tower. You can see that the tower is sitting right here in the middle of the ball, and we have to dig out around the base. This is our first power-up that we're using, and I'll explain those in a little more detail in a moment, but they're very nice to use on tower stages. They tend to be very effective. That little fire block I just cleared in the ball gave me another one, and we're going to use it immediately for the same reason. Power-ups are very good on tower stages. I think this is it. We're done. Alright. Now, in this chapter, we have one more stage. In this chapter, we have one more stage. In this episode, this is technically an IL category, because otherwise the game just gets very long to speedrun. So this is called hide and seek, and this is pretty straightforward. We just dig down to the bottom, and we're going to find a robot buddy hiding in the ball, and we have to let him out. There's an entire game mode called Rescue that is basically nothing but this, and that's probably the main category of the game, and this is kind of the secondary category. I just think the mini games in this category make it a little bit more interesting, add a little more variation to the goals. So I'm going to need to find a 3x3 window here and figure out what's the best way to get that 3x3 window cleared out. We're almost there. I think we need this one, and I think that we probably need this out of here, and I think we're good. Okay. First chapter done. We got 5 more to go. So we're going to see another multi. It's going to be very similar. So I can talk a little bit about power-ups now. There's 3 ways to get power-ups. One is to get those fire blocks in the middle of the ball. The second is to get a 20 chain. So if you see that number in the top right corner that's counting an active chain, if you can get that number to 20, you will get 1 power-up. If you get that number to 60, you get 1 power-up. There's no benefit to going further than 20 for the power-up's sake. And the third way to get a power-up is if you look on the right side of the screen, between the clock and the power-up counter, you will see a gauge. It's really hard to see, and it's completely empty right now. But there's a gauge over there that will start filling up, and as that fills up, you can earn more power-ups. Okay, we're back to another drill stage, and the thing I want to point out now is we've got some different shaped blocks on the ball. The game has 6 possible shapes. We found the picture, so we can dig here. 6 possible shapes. 3 of them are rectangular, 3 of them are non-rectangular. And the interesting thing is the non-rectangular blocks break more easily, because the rectangular blocks you have to line up like an entire side to make them break. Whereas if you have these non-rectangular blocks, they just have to basically be touching any one piece to any one piece. So it makes clearing the stages easier in most cases, but it causes problems in some stages, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later. This stage type is called unique. There's 1 drill on the ball, and we have to dig underneath it, and underneath it we will find a shape. The game calls it unique, but there's actually only... First miss drop. Talk about that a little bit more in a minute. There's actually only 8 or 16 shapes that can show up as part of the unique stage, so I generally know what they all are, so it's just a matter of getting down to the bottom, figuring it out, and finishing the job. Yeah, so we did take 1 miss drop there. If you look in the top left, you'll see I have 3 hearts. I get 3 lives. If I lose all 3 lives, I have to start the stage over. And every time I make a drop that doesn't make a combo of 3, I lose a life. Right, so this stage type is called shift. What we have to do here is we have to dig down to the bottom, and we have to find 4 drills, and we have to make a path between them on the bottom of the ball, and drag together these little chain link pieces here into a picture, into a circle. So this can be one of the longer stage types, especially when the balls start getting deeper in later levels. So we need a square shape in order to be able to interact with them, and this is going to block us in a little bit. It should get us out, though. Oh, something is holding us in here. There we go. We just had to clear off the top. And now, another hide and seek. This is actually going to be this is a really easy level. For some reason, the ball got thinner, less deep than it was on the last one, without any sort of alternative increase in difficulty. So that's a really easy stage. Alright, another multi. This time we're going to have a little bit of a bigger picture on the bottom when we get there, though. Let's take a moment to talk about power-ups, because you've seen me use a number of them. There are 6 power-ups in the game. Every time you earn a power-up, they level up. So there's 6 different levels, and the first power-up is the little teeny rocket. And it's actually incredibly useful, even though it's the first level power-up. But you can't choose which power-up you get. It's not random. It's just every time you get a power-up, you go to the next level from what you had. So you start with a little teeny rocket, then you get the dynamite, which has an area of effect around where you throw it. The third power-up is the magnet, which peels layers off the ball, and you can move it around as necessary, so it's a little bit more versatile in that regard. The fourth power-up is the atom, which peels the entire top layer off the ball, which does technically remove the most blocks of any power-up, but it's so undirected that it's really not that useful most of the time in the speedrun. Fifth power-up is the big bomb, which blows away two layers on the ball where you drop it, and then that laser is the top tier power-up. We just had to clean up the leftover crystals on that one. Alright, so here's the first connect we see, and this is the swingiest stage in this speedrun. Underneath this drill, there's a picture, and from that picture there will be lines that will radiate out to between 1 and 3 additional pictures. And what we're supposed to do, casually, is we're supposed to follow those lines, find the additional pictures, and uncover all the pictures. It turns out, though, that there are only 8 possible patterns on this stage. So, we don't actually have to follow the lines. No, we just have to know what the 8 patterns are, look at the lines, and figure out... That gets us down to, at most, 1 of 2 patterns. Sometimes it's completely unique, sometimes it's almost unique. But it still tells us where to start digging, and then we can kind of figure it out from there. So this needs to go... This one's a little bit offset, so we need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. So we're kind of over here. But we don't have to chase the lines. So where this gets swingy is we really would prefer the ones that only have 1 or 2 pictures underneath, because we aren't actually following the lines, and the ones that have more pictures have shorter lines. I misread that. The ones that have more pictures have fewer shorter lines, and the ones that have fewer pictures make you go a longer way to get to them. But because we know where all the pictures are, we just want the ones with the fewest pictures. Gets us through it that much more quickly. Alright, we have another brick. And you can tell which stage is coming up by the music. In this mode, every stage has its own song. All the music in this game is incredible, by the way. It's by a man named Neil Voss. He's done like 10 video game soundtracks, and every single one of them is award-winning. Definitely need more yellows than what I'm getting here. What's holding me in? Problem is I can't see underneath it right now, so... there's a yellow. I can't see or interact with that piece until I dig it out a little bit more. So that slowed me down just a little bit. Alright, another hide and seek. And that's the halfway point of this category. Yeah, strictly speaking, this is an IL category. We do have multiple lengths of categories in this game because it runs the credits more than once. It runs the credits after 3 episodes and after 5 episodes. After 3 episodes is about an hour 15, world record, somewhere in that range. The full 5 episode run is just under 3 hours if you're on world record pace. That's a long time for a marathon. That's a tough thing to submit. So the IL category gives us a chance to do a taste of the game so you can see what it's about. So let's talk a little bit about the clock, because we haven't yet. If you look in the bottom right, that thing that's blue, that's the clock down there. If we sit around and we do nothing, the clock will eventually go from yellow, or from blue to yellow to red. When it starts going yellow, the ball will start approaching the screen, and in theory it will eventually bump the camera and force a miss drop. It won't force a miss drop, it will force a drop. If that drop is valid, you will not be penalized. If that drop is invalid, you will take a miss drop. Again, 3 miss drops and you're kicked out of the level. The other penalty for a miss drop is that you lose any power-up you might have, and your multiplier resets, which we haven't really talked about, but isn't really a concern when we're talking about the speed run most of the time. There we go. That was a really quick shift. That laser worked out really nice. So we're back to another unique here. So the way you manage the clock is these glowy pieces. They're called power pieces. If you watch carefully, you'll see when I make a combo, the ball will get sprinkled with this like stardust, and it will make the pieces start glowing. And we get these power pieces that have a number of interesting properties. The first is that they reset the clock, which isn't really a concern in the speedrun, because either we're going so fast that the clock doesn't matter, or the clock is going so fast that even at speedrun pace we cannot manage it, and that is definitely a thing that happens. We need to work under here just a little bit. I'm trying to see if I can get under here just a little bit more quickly. Oh, misread it, but we'll be out of here in just one more drop. Strikes are not uncommon even in the speedrun. You are not going to get a perfect game of this while playing fast. Another tower. So there's two things that are more interesting about power pieces for the speedrun. The one that's probably most relevant is that they can go uphill. Normally pieces only either fall or drag on the same level, but power pieces can climb up. See, that one can go up, this one cannot go up, this one can go up. The second thing that's interesting is when you break a combo with a power piece, look how much more slowly it runs. So what we can do with a power piece, I'll see if I can set one up, is that we can make a combo, and then we can grab a piece out of the combo and use that to start another combo. I don't think I'm in a position to actually start the secondary combo here. But if you do that, you can get what's called a fuse combo. It will increase your multiplier. We don't do this a lot in speedrun, but it's critical for score attack. And there is one thing we do in a speedrun where we abuse that power. The other thing about slow combos is that they can make it easier to earn power-ups, because you can use that to get longer combos and have that counter hit 20. But on the flip side, you can also have the problem of having to wait in a stage for your combo to end. See, if you have long combos running off screen, they can run for a long time and you can lose seconds just waiting on it. This is a great example of what I'm talking about with those non-rectangular pieces. All those L's, they're just barely touching, but like basically 70 of them just broke. Which now puts me in the position of there's almost no L's for me to work with on screen. So what you're going to see me doing here is if I get L's and I can't use them, I'm going to try to quickly drop 2 of them back to back to get rid of them. Because managing your unwanted pieces is a very important part of this game. There we go. Not bad. We have another multi. This time it's a 5x5 size. Okay, that is just a lot of L's of Z's in a row. One thing you'll also notice is that every stage so far has had 2 shapes on it. The game will go up to as many as 4 on some difficult levels. Once it hits 3, it becomes really hard to make 20 combos and earn power-ups in that manner. The stages that have 4 are basically limited to very endgame content, the absolute hardest things the game wants to throw at you. Alright, another drill. So I briefly touched on... Let me actually focus on finding the correct drill, because I might have missed it, which would be not great. You really do not want to drop the drill, and you don't want to drop drills that you don't see, because there's a little tiny dot floating above the ball. You can see it here, but it's really hard to see, especially when you're not immediately in the area and having just made it visible. It's really hard to come back to later, so you don't want to. I don't know why we're holding onto this laser. Let's laser it up. Remembering to use power-ups is kind of one of the weak points of my game. It's really easy just to kind of get sidetracked and forget about them. Alright. Here we have a connect again. Again, this is the most swingy stage type, depending on whether we get 2, 3, or 4 pictures. It's going to widely affect how our time is going to come out if we were doing a full game run. Or even an IL run, but it's not going to be like a problem in a marathon setting. But if you're going for PB attempts, you are really just hoping the game is kind to you on these stages. And it's a 3-hour run. It kind of sucks to have to hope for the kindness of the game in that context. And yet, here we are. It's called speedrunning. It's just how it is. Alright. So I'm just... Okay, this is a bad pattern. It's 3 lines coming out. It's going to be 3 digs. And it just cannot be helped. There's nothing we can do to make it a good pattern. I mean, I suppose we could, like, strike and take the stage over. I think that'd be worse. So we're just gonna have to do this the slow way. I have my notes in front of me that tell me which pattern is which. It greatly speeds up the entire process. We didn't... I was hoping we'd get that all in one shot, but just a little bit not quite there. So from here... 10 taps down, which we should be in this area. If I can get this power-up leveled up again, we'll use it, but as I've mentioned, the Atom, not the best power-up. In a speedrun context, it's too undirected. Right, we're almost through this. We got one more to dig out, which from here is 2 down. Over here. So yeah, this is not going to be a game with a lot of manipulations to it. It is really going to be reading and reacting constantly. Did I miss something? I must have. I must be off a little bit. My gut says I'm probably off a little. Yeah. I messed up my tap count, and 64 lags a little bit. Alright, what's holding us in? We missed one corner on this one. There we go. Alright, one more brick. Again, I think these are the most interesting of the stage types in the game. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the multiplier for a second, which I mentioned that you can get multipliers by setting up those fuse combos. There's also a second way to get multipliers called gravity combos, and if you played any other puzzle game, you're probably used to the idea of it, where you cause something to fall that triggers a combo, and most puzzle games will reward you for that. It's a very common mechanic, and this one is no exception. In the case of the multiplier, it maxes at 20, but you can only get 10 from gravity and 10 from fuse, so if you want to max out the multiplier, you have to do both. So the game enforces a sort of balanced play in that regard if you're playing score attack. So this game, like, at its heart it's a match 3, but it has layers, literally. Also figuratively, but also literally. Alright, what's left? So I'm just trying to figure out what are the corners of the 4x4 window, because I should be done. There we go. Alright, we have one more episode left, or chapter left in the episode. And the game does have one last trick up its sleeve, and I kind of want to save talking about that for when it comes up. Because that will be kind of the most interesting bit of actual tech in the entire run. Let's see here. This is another 5x5 multi that we have to dig out. I do like that we're getting a good number of power-ups here. That could come in handy. The blocks on the bottom here are just lined up very poorly, so it's being kind of awkward to get through them. And also, we kind of ended up a little bit offset, so we're not going to get a clean dig here. We're going to have to dig out sideways, which is not ideal. When you're doing hide and seek or rescue type stages, you really do not want to go to the bottom and then have to start digging sideways. You want to dig a little extra on the top so that you don't have to dig sideways. We ended up doing a lot of sideways digging on that one. Also important just not to forget that you have power-ups. It's not always faster to use the power-ups. We've also had bad drill luck on this run. There we go. Second try. That's another source of swinginess in the run, is how many times do you have to try to find the correct drill. We're kind of blocked a lot by greens here. I'm going to save this power up for... I don't even... wondering, it's... I need a power up for stage 6-4, I will say that. It might be a bit early to be saving it, but also I'm a little bit far through this stage to be using it at this point. So I kind of put myself in a little bit of a conundrum. Alright. So one thing I want to note is that you can only interact with blocks if they have at least one square visible above. Oh, that's a bad mistake. I don't know why I thought that was blue. Now we lost our power up. So we're gonna make this harder on ourselves. If a block is fully covered by another block, though, it is as if it doesn't exist for purposes of clearing. So when we start digging down and we need to dig out sideways, we need to make sure that blocks have at least one square above them visible. And if we have that, we actually have pretty good latitude towards sideways. We can't actually grab a block unless it's got one space that is visible all the way to the sky. You can't grab underneath the stack, but you can drop kind of around the stack a little bit if you're able to set up sideways. Like this block down here that's buried, I can get rid of that block because it's visible to the top even though it's not completely dug out. So that gives me a way to work underneath stuff a bit. But those blocks would not break at all until I removed the stuff above them that was hiding them. Alright, I think we're almost done here. Not quite yet. We're gonna have to do a little bit more digging here because I don't think I can just sneak around this. I think it's a little bit too much. I'm trying to grab that block out while the combo was running, but it's not able to do it fast enough. It's just this, and once this is out... Oh, I'm wrong. One more corner. Being able to identify when you're done with stages, especially those hide and seeks in the 4x4 windows, it's hard to tell when you've cleared out a 4x4 window. That's one of the biggest time sinks in the game. Alright, this is called Crystal Tower, and you can once again see that we have a tower, but this time it's made of those crystal blocks, those little gray blocks that are filling in various places on the ball, and we can drag through them and they break. The tower's made of that. The practical result of this is I am not seeing anything I want to see. This is not ideal. The result of this, though, is if you break a combo next to the tower, or if you run a block into the tower collapses and you lose the stage. You do not take a strike, you lose the stage, you start over from the beginning. The good news is that the tower is completely impervious to power-ups, so we can throw power-ups at it all day. So we're trying to find ways to farm power-ups, either get fire blocks, or what I've been doing off to the side is I've been exploiting a little bug in the game where if you have a power piece, this might end the stage. If you have a power piece, it's going to end the stage. You can set it up such that if you quickly slide a piece underneath it, stick it back in, it will activate a combo. The game will think that it's both a gravity combo and a fuse combo at the same time, which will greatly increase your multiplier, and it will also fill up that gauge on the right side of the screen, the one that's really hard to see but sits between the combo counter and the clock. So that lets us earn power-ups. It takes about 2.5 of those wiggles to earn 1 power-up, so we can exploit that to safely clear the majority of the crystal towers in the game. Not all of them, but the majority of them. So here we're on the last hide and seek. got to figure out what I need, how much I need to do to actually get out of here. And I feel like it's probably pretty close. There we go. And that's time. So I believe we have a little bit of extra time. So I'm going to check how much we got. And then, let's see. Yep, no, I think we're right at about, looking at that. No, we're right at about time, seems like. 240. So I think we had 5 minutes left on the schedule. So I think we probably have time for one quick showcase. I need to get up and physically reset the N64 though, because we cannot skip this. Thanks for the GG. Looking at the estimate, I think we had time for one quick showcase, so I'll show off one of the harder levels in the game. We'll do Rescue 1010. So Rescue 1010, first thing you're going to notice is we're going to have 4 shapes on the ball. Everything we did on the last one, we had 2. This rescue mode is going to be extremely similar to what we were doing for hide and seek. It's the same core gameplay mechanic. So that's the first thing you're going to notice is we have a lot more shapes. The second thing you're going to notice is take a look at the clock. Take a look at how the clock is already in yellow time. I want this power up. So we are not going to be able to control the clock on this stage. We are just going to have to keep breaking things. Again, as long as we keep dropping, the clock can't hurt us. The clock only ticks when we're not actively in a combo or using a power-up. But we're going to be hunting around and just trying to find something to do with everything the game throws at us. Alright, I'm going to use this power-up here, because I do not have a lot of useful stuff to do with this. It'll buy me a little more time. Yeah, we are getting kind of a little bit rough. We made it to the bottom. Alright, so now I need to figure out how to get a 3x3 window cleared out without being able to actually take the time to look and see what I'm doing, because that will result in this red clock hitting me and causing a strike. It's not out of the question to take an intentional strike on this one if we get really up against the wall. I want to grab that power up. I think what we need to work with is down in this corner. Oh, okay. So we can take this, swing that over. This green is still in the way. Almost took a strike there. Really came down to the last frame or two. I desperately need something I can use to interact with this. So we've been hung up on this corner for quite a while, just waiting for the pieces and having to hunt for the stuff we don't actually need to get to the one we do. Because I think it's just this. I think if we could... Nope. Then it's just this. There we go. Alright. So that's one of the hardest levels the game has to offer. There's a few that I think are a little bit harder than that, but we're going to see the exact same credits here. Right. I think that's going to be enough time. I think we're going to start getting ready for the next run. So thanks everyone for having me. Thanks for checking out Tetrisphere. This is a really good game. Kind kind of lost a little bit to history, hasn't really been remade or anything. But I recommend checking it out if you like puzzle games. Alright. And thanks so much.